people really know about these creatures. As of about 10 years ago, there are only 1,500 complete skeletons in the entire world of dinosaur types. Just 1,500. So everything that people know about dinosaurs came from those. Since then, there's maybe another 50 or 60, I believe. I may be wrong on that number. So there are not a huge amount of skeletons. So there is a lot of guesswork on what these dinosaurs are and how they behaved, what they looked like, and how the skeletal parts fit together. But when did man first find out about dinosaurs? If you're a Christian, you go back to Genesis. But we're going to act like an evolutionist, and we're going to go with the evolutionists for just a minute. And this here is a picture of Dr. Gideon Mantell. This here is a Kodak moment if there ever was one. This is Dr. Gideon Mantell in 1822 being presented with what turned out to be an iguanodon tooth by his wife. The story is that he was a country doc making a country call, and his wife went along with him, and while he was then tending the patient, she went out for a little country stroll and found some fossils things sticking in rocks, which she picked up and brought to her husband, who liked to investigate fossils. He looked at them and didn't know what they were, and asked some questions of other people who didn't know what they were, and consulted with Baron Georges Cuvier, who was a French paleontologist, and I probably butchered his name, but he supposed maybe it was a tooth from an extinct rhinoceros or hippopotamus or something like that. He really didn't know what it was. And it was sometime later that someone familiar with iguanas from Mexico and South America took a look at the tooth and said, that thing looks just like an iguana tooth. They found more bone material, and hence, in the modern era, supposedly, the first dinosaur found is the iguanodon. And this is a pretty big guy all by himself. He could get up to 5 tons, length 30 feet, and he was 15 feet tall. But this was supposedly the first dinosaur find in the modern era. Now, going back further, there are occasions where people found big dinosaur bones or big bones, and they didn't know what they were. Because in the world of evolution, no one had known about these big lizards or these big reptiles until 1822, when they started to find these bones and put together the big puzzle as to what these things were. For instance, in 1677, a guy named Robert Porter found what may have been an apatosaurus or a diplodocus femur, but he didn't know what it was. He thought it maybe came from a big elephant. So 1822 was when people first got the idea that these creatures existed. Now we're going to continue to be a good evolutionist. If you're an evolutionist, this is where dinosaurs came from. You have the Big Bang explosion from hydrogen gas. You have stars form, stars explode. You get all kinds of compounds from that. They condense into planets. The planets get land and primordial soup, and then creatures come out of it, including the dinosaurs. For our purposes, you go from the Big Bang to this whole process of planet generation and the primordial soup. You end up with these little monkeys. You end up with these apes, of which they think we came from an evolution process from this guy, ending up with the epitome of evolution itself, and that's modern man. Okay? And so, if evolution is true, I don't think it'd get any better than that. So, okay? The fact that it is better than that's proof evolution is not a case. So from that common substance in the soup, everything came about, including dinosaurs. And why do evolutionists promote this story? Because they wouldn't have seen it if they hadn't already believed it. You all know that to them, special creation is clearly fantastic. And that one guy Brian was reading about might think that we're giving God a little too much credit with even a divine spark. Well, I think too many people are giving too much credit to this other stuff and not recognizing the divine influence that had to be there to cause all this stuff to happen and to guide it through the process of the 6 days of creation. So if you're a Bible believer, this is what happened. In 6 literal 24-hour days, God made everything. And if you want to know where the dinosaurs came from, day 5. What did he make then? The sky and the sea dwellers. And then what did he make on day 6? The land dwellers. So, let's put it together. Pterosaurs, plesiosaurs, mosasaurs. And then the dinosaurs, or basically the whole group of the archosaurs, of which dinosaurs are a group. 6 days, literal creation. And I don't want to editorialize and influence you one way or the other which way you should think. So as we go through this, I want you to consider if the evolution model is the best way to look at dinosaurs and their relation to man, or if the creation model makes more sense. But mind you, I want you to make up your own mind about this. Okay? Because what I want you to be aware of, and I'm sure most of you already are, there are a lot of very biased people out there who look at the 1,500 or 1,600 skeletons of dinosaurs, and they make up a lot of stories about them. They dig up a bone, and based on the indentations and the impressions and the shape and the bend of a bone, they come up with all kinds of stories about the muscles and everything that goes into a dinosaur, how big the muscles had to be, the energy it would take for that to work, all the different kinds of muscles and how they work. You even can buy a computer program that shows all the musculature of a T-Rex running down the street at 35 miles an hour. We'll debate in a little bit if that's even possible for a T-Rex to go that fast. But they make up all kinds of stories about this, and these stories they make up, I like to call green chickens. How many of you have ever seen a green chicken? Do green chickens exist? No, they don't. But if you had never seen if you had never seen a chicken before, okay, so you never heard of an egg, you never heard of a chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken was just some kind of a figment out there that maybe you don't know anything about it. And then I come along and I'm a chicken expert. And I say chickens are green. And I talk about chickens and they lay eggs and you can scramble them and you can make them into omelets and you can fry the chicken parts and have great dinner. But chickens are green. Would you believe me? You might. If you perceive me to be an expert, I got a name with lots of letters after it. You know, the jumbled kind of letters like piled higher and deeper and all that stuff, okay? If I've got a name with all those letters after it, and I tell you chickens are green, and you don't know anything about chickens, you might give me credibility based on those letters after my name and assume that I know what I'm talking about and believe the chickens are green. And what I want you to do is watch out for the green chickens. Not only from the evolutionists, but also from some creationists. Watch out for the green chickens. Because an expert can come along and tell you anything about something you're not an expert in yourself, and you might believe them or give them more credibility than we should, in which case we're falling for the green chickens. So I want to get around the green chickens for the next 4 or 5 hours or so. Now, I'm only kidding. It'll only be about another 50 minutes or so at the most. It only seemed like 4 or 5 hours to you. We're going to go through these 5 questions about dinosaurs. And I have a lot of fun with these things because every time I go over it, it's still like it's new. First question is, how old are dinosaur bones really? And I'm going to tell you the nasty secret about Dinosaur National Monument. And when I tell you the secret, I don't want that to dissuade you from coming to the next safari out to Dinosaur National Monument. You still have to do the safari sometime. But I'm going to tell you the nasty secret about Dinosaur National Monument in conjunction with question number 1. Number 2, did dinosaurs and man live together? Well, we've already kind of answered that when we looked at the 6 days of creation, but we're going to look at it a little bit more. Did Noah have dinosaurs aboard the ark? Number 4, why did God create the dinosaurs? Like I said earlier, that to me is one of the most interesting questions on here. Why did God put them here? And number 5, what happened to them after God put them here? Well, let's get right to question number 1. How old are dinosaur bones? How many say the dinosaur bones are at least 65 million years old because all the creatures died out at the end of the Mesozoic, the age of the reptiles? Anybody agree with that? No? No. Okay. Very good. Because that's one of the green chickens. The experts dig up the bones